The afternoon sun cast long shadows across Rodeo Drive as Danielle Brooks pushed open the heavy glass doors of Prestige Boutique. Dressed in simple gray joggers and a crisp white t-shirt, her neat afro pulled back into a low bun, she moved with quiet confidence through the marble-floored showroom. The air smelled of expensive perfume and polished leather, the clinking of champagne glasses mixing with the murmur of privileged conversations. At the vintage watch display, Danielle paused before a rare white gold timepiece, its intricate mechanics visible through the sapphire crystal caseback. She'd researched this model for weeks, a 1950s chronometer with a distinctive salmon dial, one of only 5 in existence. As she leaned closer, a shadow fell across the glass. "Can I help you?" The voice dripped with condescension. Veronica Adams, Prestige's top sales associate, stood with arms crossed, her form-fitting black dress and perfect blonde bob the picture of curated luxury. Her eyes flicked over Danielle's outfit, lingering on her well-worn leather tote. Danielle smiled politely. "I'd like to see this watch, please." Veronica's manicured fingers hovered near the case lock. "The Chronomaster Heritage?" She gave a practiced laugh. "That's an $85,000 piece, darling. Perhaps you'd prefer something from our entry-level collection." Nearby, 2 women in Chanel suits paused their browsing to watch the exchange, their smirks poorly concealed behind diamond-encrusted hands. "I'm aware of the price," Danielle said evenly. "It's for my husband's birthday." Veronica's smile tightened as she reluctantly unlocked the case. "Of course," she said in a tone suggesting anything but. She handled the watch like a bomb technician, white gloves protecting it from unworthy fingers. "This particular model was owned by a Swiss ambassador," she said pointedly. "We have very strict protocols about who can handle it." As Danielle examined the timepiece, she noticed Veronica's subtle recoil when their hands nearly brushed. The message was clear. Your kind doesn't belong here. The tension thickened when Marcus Devlin, the store manager, materialized beside them. Tall and angular in his Brioni suit, he assessed Danielle with the cold calculation of an art appraiser spotting a forgery. "Everything all right here?" he asked Veronica, though his gaze never left Danielle. Veronica lowered her voice just enough to be overheard. "The customer was interested in the Chronomaster, but I explained our authentication process." Marcus nodded understandingly. "We do require financial verification for pieces at this level," he told Danielle. "Platinum card, or perhaps a bank reference." Danielle felt her cheeks warm, but kept her voice steady. "I have multiple payment methods available." Marcus exchanged a glance with Veronica. "Of course," he said with exaggerated patience. "It's just, we've had issues with aspirational shoppers wasting our time." Nearby, a well-dressed man chuckled into his cappuccino. The humiliation burned, but Danielle refused to give them the satisfaction. She met Marcus's gaze directly. "I'd like to purchase this watch, today, in full." The silence that followed was broken by Veronica's saccharine voice. "Perhaps we could set up a payment plan. We offer excellent financing options for special circumstances," Marcus added with mock concern. "Or maybe your husband would prefer to come in himself." Danielle's fingers tightened around her tote strap. She'd faced this before, the subtle digs, the coded language, the assumption that a black woman in casual clothes couldn't possibly be a legitimate customer. But today, the mask had slipped completely, revealing the ugly prejudice beneath luxury's glittering facade. As she opened her mouth to respond, the boutique's door chimed again. All heads turned as a familiar figure strode in. Raymond Brooks, Danielle's husband, his custom Tom Ford suit and commanding presence instantly shifting the room's energy. The blood drained from Marcus's face. "Mr. Brooks," he stammered. "What an unexpected—" Raymond ignored him, going straight to Danielle. "There you are, darling. I was worried when you didn't meet me for lunch." Danielle exhaled slowly, the warmth of Raymond's hand on her back steadying her. She hadn't wanted to make a scene. Hadn't wanted to pull the "do you know who I am?" card, but the blatant disrespect had crossed a line. Marcus recovered first, his voice suddenly honeyed. "Mr. Brooks, what an honor to have you in our store. We were just assisting your friend." Raymond's eyebrow arched. "My wife, actually." A beat of silence. Then the quiet gasps. The well-dressed customers who had earlier smirked now exchanged nervous glances. The woman with the diamond-encrusted handbag suddenly found her phone very interesting. Veronica's manicured fingers fluttered to her throat. "Wow's wife!" Danielle allowed herself a small, satisfied smile. She had never flaunted her status, had always preferred to move through the world without the armor of Raymond's name. But today she wouldn't let them pretend their bias was just policy. Raymond's voice remained calm, but there was steel beneath it. "Let me get this straight. You refuse to show my wife a watch because of how she's dressed." Marcus scrambled to explain. "Mr. Brooks, I assure you, this was just a misunderstanding. We have protocols for high-value items." "Protocols?" Raymond cut him off. "Or prejudice." The word hung in the air, sharp and undeniable. The other customers shifted uncomfortably. A young sales associate near the back looked down, her cheeks flushing. Danielle finally spoke, her voice quiet but clear. "They assumed I couldn't afford it. Suggested I look at costume jewelry instead." Raymond's jaw tightened. He turned to Marcus. "You know, I've invested in this company for years. Always believed in its vision." He paused. "But I didn't realize that vision included humiliating black women for sport." Marcus paled. "Sir, Save it." Raymond pulled out his phone, tapped a few times, then held it up. The screen displayed an email sent to the entire Prestige corporate board. "Consider this location under review." Veronica made a small choked noise. Just then, the boutique's door opened again. A tall, elegant woman in a sleek pantsuit entered. Lauren Whitaker, the Oscar-winning actress. She took in the scene with a raised brow before walking straight to Danielle. "You okay?" she murmured, eyeing the staff with open disdain. Danielle nodded, touched by the unexpected solidarity. Lauren turned to Marcus. "I was coming in to pick up my order, but now I'm wondering if I should take my business elsewhere." Marcus looked like he might pass out. Raymond slid an arm around Danielle's waist. "Let's go. We'll take the watch, and I'll be having a long conversation with your CEO." As they turned to leave, Danielle caught Veronica's eye. The saleswoman's earlier arrogance had dissolved into something like fear. Danielle smiled. "Oh, and Veronica, you might want to update your resume." The glass doors of Prestige Boutique hissed shut behind Danielle and Raymond, leaving a vacuum of silence in their wake. Inside, Marcus stood frozen, his Italian loafers rooted to the marble floor as the weight of his mistake settled over him. Veronica's hands trembled violently, smudging the ink on the sales ledger she clutched like a lifeline. At the vintage watch counter, the $85,000 Chronomaster still sat exposed on its velvet pad, its delicate hands continuing to mark time with cruel indifference. The well-dressed customers who had earlier enjoyed the spectacle now avoided eye contact, suddenly fascinated by handbags and jewelry displays. A sharp ping broke the silence. Marcus's phone lit up with a notification from corporate headquarters. "Emergency board meeting scheduled 3 p.m. His throat went dry. Across the showroom, The junior sales associate, who had remained silent during the confrontation, quietly removed her name tag and placed it on the counter. Outside on Rodeo Drive, Danielle took her first full breath since entering the boutique. The California sunshine felt different now, warmer, less judgmental. Raymond squeezed her hand, his thumb tracing comforting circles on her skin. "You should have seen their faces," Lauren Whitaker chuckled, falling into step beside them. "Like children caught stealing cookies." The actress shook her head, her designer sunglasses doing little to hide her indignation. "I've seen that look before, at fundraisers on sets. It never gets less pathetic." Danielle opened her mouth to respond when her phone buzzed. A Twitter notification flashed. At Rodeo Drive, Insider had posted a shaky video of the confrontation with the caption, "Boutique staff learns hard lesson about judging books by their covers." Already, the comments were flooding in. Outrage, support, personal stories of similar treatment. Raymond frowned at his own buzzing phone. "Board members are calling. They want damage control." His expression darkened. "I want policy changes." Lauren scrolled through her phone, then showed Danielle the screen. Prestige's stock just dropped 8% in pre-market trading. She smirked. The power of social media. Back inside the boutique, Marcus's polished world was unraveling. His assistant rushed up, face ashen. The New York Times just called for comment. And CNN is outside. Veronica slumped against the counter, her perfect hair now fraying at the edges. "This can't be happening," she whispered. "It was just protocol." Marcus whirled on her, his composure shattered. "Protocol? You insulted the wife of our majority shareholder." His voice cracked. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" The boutique's phone began ringing incessantly. Cancellations, interview requests, a terse message from corporate HR requesting their immediate presence at headquarters. On the sidewalk outside, Danielle watched as a news van pulled up, its satellite dish unfolding like some mechanical vulture. She turned to Raymond. "I never wanted this to blow up. I just wanted to buy you a birthday gift." Raymond kissed her forehead. This was never just about a watch. He nodded toward the growing crowd of onlookers and reporters. "This is about every person who's ever been made to feel small." Lauren adjusted her sunglasses. "So what now?" Danielle squared her shoulders, watching through the glass as Marcus struggled to maintain his dignity amidst the chaos. "Now," she said quietly, "we change things." As they walked away, the first camera flashes illuminated Prestige's gleaming facade, capturing not luxury, but the crumbling mask of prejudice behind it. The boardroom of Prestige's corporate headquarters was silent, the tension so thick it could be cut with a knife. 24 hours had passed since the incident at the Rodeo Drive boutique, but the aftershocks were still rippling through the company. The glass-walled conference room, usually filled with the hum of polished executives discussing quarterly earnings, now felt like a courtroom. At the head of the table sat Raymond Brooks, his expression unreadable. To his right, Danielle, composed, elegant in a simple but impeccably tailored dress, her presence radiating quiet authority. Across from them, Marcus Devlin and Veronica Adams sat stiffly, their earlier arrogance replaced by pale-faced dread. The rest of the board members, mostly older men in custom suits, shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The CEO, Richard Langley, cleared his throat. "First, let me apologize, Mrs. Brooks, for the unacceptable behavior of our staff." His voice was smooth, practiced. "We deeply value your patronage and—" Danielle held up a hand, stopping him mid-sentence. "This isn't about me, Richard. This is about every person who's ever walked into one of your stores and been treated like they didn't belong." A murmur ran through the room. Richard's smile tightened. "Of course, and we take this very seriously. We'll be implementing additional training." Raymond leaned forward. "Training isn't enough." His voice was calm, but the edge in it made several board members sit up straighter. This wasn't a slip in customer service. This was discrimination, blatant and unchecked. A screen at the far end of the room flickered to life, displaying a montage of social media posts. The hashtag number, "People Like You Don't Belong Here," had gone viral, with thousands sharing stories of being profiled in high-end stores. News outlets had picked it up, and Prestige's stock had plummeted another 12% by midday. Danielle pressed a button on the table's console, and the video from inside the boutique played. Veronica's condescending tone, Marcus's cold dismissal, the muffled laughter of other customers. Watching it now, in the sterile corporate setting, made the cruelty even more glaring. Veronica's hands twisted in her lap. I never meant to offend," she stammered. Danielle's gaze didn't waver. "You didn't just offend. You humiliated me. And you've done it to others, haven't you?" Silence. Marcus finally spoke, his voice hollow. "What do you want from us?" Danielle exhaled. "I don't want apologies. I want change." She slid a folder across the table. "These are new policies, mandatory anti-bias training for every employee. Not just a seminar, but ongoing evaluations. Anonymous feedback systems for customers to report discrimination, and a zero-tolerance clause for staff who engage in profiling." Richard flipped through the documents, his brow furrowing. Some of these measures are extensive. Raymond's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Consider it an investment in not losing another $200 million in market value." The room went still. Then from the back, a voice spoke up. The youngest board member, a woman in her 30s, who had stayed silent until now. "I'll support it." She looked directly at Danielle. "And I'd like to propose one more thing, a diversity council, to make sure this doesn't happen again." Danielle nodded. "Good." Richard hesitated, then sighed. "All in favor?" Hands rose, some slowly, some with conviction. The motion passed. As the meeting adjourned, Marcus stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. "So that's it? I'm just done?" Raymond studied him for a long moment. "You're keeping your job, for now, but you'll be the one leading the training sessions. And if this happens again in any of our stores, you won't just be fired, you'll be held accountable." Veronica, tears streaking her perfect makeup, whispered, "I'm sorry." Danielle looked at her. "I know, but sorry doesn't fix what happened." She turned to leave, then paused at the door. "The next time someone walks into your store, no matter how they're dressed, no matter what they look like, remember how this felt." Epilogue. 1 month later. The doors of the newly rebranded Prestige boutique slid open, the interior brighter, more welcoming. A diverse group of staff, now trained, now aware, stood ready. Outside, a plaque had been installed. "Luxury should be for everyone." Danielle, passing by on her way to lunch with Raymond, smiled. It was a start,